Hey everybody, welcome to the Trampled Underfoot podcast show. Your hosts are Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo, and this is our 300th episode. Mark?
300. That is, by Steve's reckoning, 6 years, 1 month, and 1 week we've been doing this. And nobody is more apologetic than us.
300.
300. We got a few friends visiting us. We've got, in no particular order, well, that was a mistake. In no particular order, we have Al down in Texas, right?
That's correct.
All right.
Odessa, Texas.
Odessa. All right. Then we got Javi back in Central Florida, right?
Yep. Howdy, y'all. Good to see you.
And then you know him, you love him, you can't live without him, my buddy Steve in Mississippi. What chicken, Steve?
How's it going, everybody?
And then we've got the rest of us here, Eloy and me, just trying to keep everything together.
Well, you seem to have kept it together for 6 years, so
Yeah.
that's an accomplishment.
It is. Nobody is more surprised than me. And I think that means we ran out of things to say 4 years ago.
Not me. I've got plenty in there. I may repeat a lot like we often do, but nothing's ever really solved with us, ever.
No.
It's always an ongoing conversation. And I think that for my purposes, our show has helped me, selfishly speaking, work out questions, not that they're answered perfectly, but the ability to actually go through the process of testing the waters out. And I feel that that's been helpful. It's also been helpful to get challenged on things or to see things in a different light that I would not often choose. Like Mark would choose something different and I would contradict him. And I think that those things, and I say this truthfully, have been helpful to me personally in other aspects when thinking about things. So I have found the value in that. So maybe, wait a second, am I describing just therapy?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
More or less, yeah.
And we don't charge by the hour here, so it's all good. I mean,
but we've also touched on various interesting things that we like cultural things, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely music, movies, TV. I mean, me and Steve spent an entire episode going through old candy and talking about the old candies we used to buy, and old audio equipment, old stereo systems and what have you that just aren't around anymore. And we have several themes that we tend to revisit a lot, one of them being nostalgia. But you hit on something else. We very rarely have answers to questions. We usually just end up with more questions. So
we have preliminary in waiting answers that could alter themselves according to developing stuff further down the road. We have a leaning towards one answer than another, and some things are more solidly based than others. But the idea is exactly that, to converse and share. And it's just, I guess that's just the human thing. But I do want to say, since we are in a different format, because now we have guests with us, and we've done it before, and we don't have a structure. But I do want to sort of throw in. Did I say that out loud? I was just thinking that.
Yeah, you did.
I do want to mention that. So we do have, as Mark mentioned earlier, Al, Javi, and Steve here, and maybe they can each of them give us a little sort of whatnot of what they're interested in, or some curious bits that they might want to share about the show itself, or us, or maybe how we met, or just an interesting caveat of little isms that they may think.
I'll bring something up, and this kind of made me think about it. Some things that have taken place. Is it just my old age, or is it really the Mandela effect that kicks in? Because you might remember something one way, and you might remember it a different way, and then you go look it up and it's like totally different, and it's like this has been happening more and more and more to me lately. I go, no, I thought this. Well, no, wait a second. You know, does that affect the show in any way?
We like to dig into some of the more obscure things every once in a while. Like, you know, I'm the word nerd, so I will get into weird phrases and why the hell do we have them when nobody knows what they mean. We think we know what they mean, but we don't. One of my favorite being for intensive purposes. You know, well, it's intense and purposes, not intensive purposes. But then again, it does kind of. I heard another one the other day, Eloy. He tucked himself up in the feeble position.
Oh,
You know, and
which works as well.
The feeble,
does work.
the feeble position.
feeble position, yeah, it does work.
Wow.
But, you know, it's like missed it by that much. You know,
I would say that's overly under.
yeah, it is. It is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But whether it be Mandela effect or not, I find that a lot of times what it is my attention span. And I hear a little bit of something and go off in a squirrel tangent over here.
Oh.
And then when something else comes up, it's like, well, wait a minute, that's not what he said. And then I go back and, oh, yeah, that's exactly what he said.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that, Mark, because very often, especially over the course of my life, the more you learn and get accustomed to something, the less you're interested in it. And it's, I mean,
Another good one.
It's a difficult thing getting old because you're bored with everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you've learned it all.
No,
well, you think you've learned it all.
You think you've learned it all, you know.
Well, you've done it repeatedly.
I take issue with yes, but I take a little bit issue with we've done it all, although you cleared it up. But
True.
I'll leave that to the side because there's so much out there that who knows what. I mean, I don't know. But the Mandela effect bit, I don't know if it was satisfactory. Is that where you were going, Al, with the Mandela effect?
Yeah. There was, and I don't know if I should really get into it, but there have been controversial things. I made a comment the other day of exactly how I remembered something, but yet it was actually somebody else talking about it, and it never really ever happened. But yet, in my mind, yes, Johnny Carson did reach over or mention something about something. Anyway,
I know the incident that you're talking about, and in fact, the person was a guest on his show sometime later, and she told him about that rumor. If you don't know what we're talking about, Google it.
Raja Gabor,
and she's telling him about this, and she's repeating the rumor to him. And he's like, yeah, I think I would have remembered that, you know. And she said, well, I know my lawyers would have.
right?
So,
well, it's been, forever, right? But in my mind, yes, that definitely happened. And then I did research it, and no, this is what happened.
Mm-hmm. The closest thing I have seen to that actually happening was, and it's the video is on YouTube. You can find it. He's talking to Dolly Parton, and he said, well, I don't know, but I'd give about a year's salary to see what's under there. That's about as close as he got. And
That's
she
about
just
as close.
turned about 15 different colors of red, and they went to a commercial. So
before throwing it over to, go ahead, Al.
No, I was going to say, see, yeah, old age.
Before throwing it over to Javi, I just want to add that I don't know, just for my sake, about this question, show related that I've experienced that I can recognize a Mandela effect event. Although we've touched on the subject, I think that we have that you just said, where memories are just because we simply, and we might address something that we had before or remember it slightly off, sort of within the realm of what it is.
I do that a lot.
But I think that that's just because human beings. I mean, for goodness sakes, but Mandela Effect is a good one. I like it because it goes into like all these other things. But Javi, any things that you'd like to add, like something about show related or things that you are personally interested in currently, things to that effect.
Well, 4 years ago, I was deeply involved in the community. I mean, Al and I had our weekly guys in their 60s and
Two
70s
two
talking
old
about
men in their
or 50s
50s
and
and
60s
60s.
talking about their 70s and 80s, and it was all nostalgia. It was beautiful, and we ran through pretty much all that we could remember, and woodworking, whether it be woodworking, so many things.
Mhm.
I still have every single one of those interests, but over the past 4 years, as you all know, I've basically took a sabbatical, if you will, to build my one man build and to build my house. I'm very happy, and little by little, I'm weaning back into it.
Yeah.
I've followed the show. I mean, we all have to parse our time,
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
and so I haven't seen as many episodes as I would have liked. I'm going back to the group because nothing's changed as far as, I mean, I have multiple interests, but in the long run, nothing's changed. It's just I'm looking back to our monthly, weekly, or daily hangouts. If we're not all sick and tired of those, anyway. Um, but it, it got me thinking, and like your show, I would watch your show on a regular basis, and then I
Pause.
stopped. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
Harju,
Daniel.
you're
Hi, everybody.
welcome to the
Hi,
show.
Javi.
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly, and I can hear myself twice.
Echo.
Yeah.
Echo.
Got
Echo.
an echo coming through your speakers.
Echo.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? So
Yeah,
just
I would-
like I'm watching your show, and
Better?
yeah, just like I'm watching your show, and and I don't have time for it. It actually reminded me of how
I don't have time.
how I deal with how I've dealt with friends of mine in the past. My own best friend, after I got married, he's still my best friend. I've talked to him for years. I mean, I know this may be another subject or maybe similar, but like your show, um, and I'm really not. My thoughts are not coherent at the moment.
Of course,
but,
your thoughts aren't coherent because you're hearing yourself telling you the same thing that you just said the minute.
That's true.
In fact, I was waiting for every time you would say something for it
Yeah.
to repeat through Harju.
But that's all I have to say about that.
How do I fix that?
I don't know, but you have given us a gift this evening
What?
of
Possibly lower the volume of your speakers. I don't know if that,
Yeah.
Do you have headphones?
Harju has given us.
He
the
doesn't
gift
have a
of-
headset. He's at
Oh, he's-
work.
There's also an echo cancellation in the gear at the bottom in settings. I believe you can go to settings and audio, and then there's a little check mark that says echo cancellation. That might help in
Engineering has told you what to do.
in StreamYard. Right about right here.
He's not wearing a
It's
red
still
shirt.
working.
He don't know what he's talking about.
What's going on? Is it echoing?
No,
No, it's
no.
good.
That's much better.
Okay, echo cancellation was checked off, so I turned it
Oh.
off. And
Did you just call him Chekhov? Lieutenant
Yeah,
Chekhov?
Chekhov is over at that station over there, and your volume attenuated quite a bit.
Yep.
How's your?
Yeah, you might wanna-
That means it got quieter.
I got rid of the PA system. I moved it over to the new shop.
You might want to
We're having
pump
a
up
wedding
pump up
over
the
there.
volume.
Yeah, you pump up your mic volume.
Pump it.
Jesus. Let's see here.
You'd think that after 6 years we would get this crap
know.
figured out, but what fun would that be?
The future is going to look back and say, "Man, these people did not have their technology together.
How about
They
now?
We don't-
What's
practically
happening now?
Stone Age people."
Okay, I can hear you good,
Did it
Dan.
work is this better?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit better.
I hear you fine.
Okay.
Okay, what microphone is it? Is it the one on the camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mark, the future kids, they only have one word to describe this session: boomer.
Yeah.
Boomer. This is Boomer.
But I
I'm not a
think
boomer.
I'll take
most
the
of
list.
us. I think most of us
The
are Gen X,
over
though.
here in this column.
Yeah.
Well, you were
Yeah.
above me. In my
I believe so.
I think
For
I'm.
sure, Harju, myself, and you, Mark, are hugging the thing, but you're pretty much in the Gen X. Al Forte is probably Gen X, roughly.
Well,
Or
Al,
he
you
could
were
be
born
boomer.
in. You were born in '60, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a year older than me. We are right on the cusp. People argue over you and me because we're not necessarily baby boomers. You got to
It's
figure that
supposed
was
to be
15.
65 and up.
Yeah,
Is Gen
I'm
X. 65 to 80
64
is
is the cut.
Gen X. Problem is, I've always seen myself more of a boomer than Gen X just because of my likes and dislikes for 50s and 60s music.
Well, Al was born in '60. I was born in '61, so we're a little bit late, I think, to be called boomers.
I'm right on 65, so
Well, for sure, Harju and I and Steve are all in the Gen X thing. Yeah, because Steve is young.
65 to
You're not
80,
older.
they
You're
say
not
Gen
older than
X.
the other guys here.
You're
I'm
not older than the old
I'm
guys,
old-
are you?
I would say I'm older than everybody except Mark and Al.
yeah, he's older
Yeah,
than
but
I am.
you're not born in 1960. You're after the fact.
Eloy's the baby.
No, I was born in
Eloy's the
'64.
baby here.
Okay, well you're hugging the. Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. There's no way. So a person, right? So I'm 19. I'm a 70s kid because I was born in the 70s, but I'm really not. I'm actually, although I was alive, but I'm really an 80s kid because that's when I started exploring and experiencing and all the stuff coming in. Now, Javi might think. Linda said what? That we're
Children,
all kids?
all of you.
Javi might
Girls
think
just
that
want to
he's
have fun.
Javi might think he's
Oh,
baby boomer
girls just
or
want to
feel
have fun.
attached to baby boomer, but in reality, you experienced the 70s and 80s, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
the late
Well,
60s as well.
Yeah, I was born in the '60s, but the first half of them I either didn't know or didn't care. So I consider myself more, I don't know, late '60s and early '70s.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just all depends.
Mark, going back to what you said, yeah,
Mhm.
we discuss a lot and have absolutely no answers. So
Exactly. Nothing but questions.
I love
So
it.
it come up with your own definitions. I think we're too young to be boomers, personally. But I really don't care. I tell you what I am. I'm generation still uses full punctuation and capitalizations in text messages. That's what I am.
So here's what generative AI has come up with. Generation X is 65 to 80,
Right.
and baby boomers are 46 to 64.
Wait a
So,
second,
yeah.
46 to 54?
Children
60.
of
46
World
to
War II
64.
veterans
My
are
father wasn't
boomers.
even a baby boomer. He was prior to that. Oh, well, no, he was born
Well,
in
then he
40.
in the greatest generation.
Yeah,
If he was born,
right. The silent generation was 25 to 45, and the greatest generation was '01. That's 1901 to 1924.
But so let me ask you this, Al, since you have AI abilities. Um, um,
AL
is
with AI live on the Trampled Underfoot podcast.
is this thing about baby boomer not just an American or US American thing? Because I don't know that the trends were followed, like let's say in Cuba where my parents were born. Maybe it occurred in Europe. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems like it's more attached to the United States. Those
Well,
qualifiers.
it mostly is
American,
because after the war, basically,
yeah,
people had a
American
lot of,
generation.
it was the growth of the suburbia, and people had a lot of time to do baby booming.
well,
I don't.
Yeah,
that
baby
I don't think
booming.
the third world is concerned
that
with
and the fact that
semantics.
the U.S. is a place that didn't have to rebuild after the war.
Yeah, it is American.
Yeah.
I have
So
confirmed that, sir.
Yeah. I don't know if they. I mean, maybe Jim Dockrell can tell us if they even have this discussion in Canada. I really don't know.
Hey,
So, but I've never heard of anybody outside of the U.S. even talking about which generation, Generation X, Generation Snowflake, whatever. You know.
Yeah.
I'm lucky if I can remember when my birthday is. So
Yeah, true.
So, Javi, did you have before going to Steve? Just you mentioned a few things in terms of speaking with a friend and this and that. Do you want to restate it or just throw? Because in my mind, just so that you know, I'm just going around the circle and then just let it go, but so that there's some sort of little thematics tossed
over
around.
my lifetime, I have found myself um, collecting a lot of friends, and I try to keep in touch with everybody. I try not to lose touch with any of my friends over the years. So you accumulate more and more and more. But as you get older and older, and your interests change, and there's a lot less time for your friends. That's not to say that the quality is not there. It is. It's just it's
Mhm.
and as you move on later in life, uh, I'm just saying that I've got a best friend who I've seen him twice in the last year, and this was the guy that before I got married, we would be at Denny's until 4 in the morning every night.
Yeah.
He'd be nursing a cup of coffee, I'd be nursing my Diet Coke, and the waitresses would all know us, so they'd give us all free food, and it
Mhm.
was, and it was our youth, as it is,
Mhm.
but I still feel that fondness and that closeness for him,
Mhm.
but
He-
time is a savage beast.
I'll agree with you there. And I get it. I'm with you on that because there were best friends I had growing up that I might talk to every other year. They're no less a friend. It's just they've got their family to focus on. I've got
Right,
mine. We've got our own things going on, and we just don't need that day to day contact that we had when we were younger.
right, right.
You know.
Steve, do
yeah,
you have any
time
thoughts?
is
Steve,
wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Timey
I mean,
wimey.
it's
do you have any
yeah.
thoughts, Steve, over the just any things that are of interest? Wait, I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna use the word that I hate, which is top of mind, that has been snuck into the cultural conscious. I just heard it twice today. People, once that darn secretary said it one time in order to wiggle around a problem, she used this, and it's not a
Were we talking
non-existent.
about that in our chat the other day? We were.
What's that?
We were talking about that the other day in our
Yeah, yeah,
chat.
yeah. Because I was thinking it just now. Because it's now it's been
It's now
in,
top of mind.
it's now been
Like it's in the
impregnated into the
lexicon.
cultural norm. But do you have any interests that are going on specifically, or any show topical thoughts that come to mind since this is our 300th and whatnot and this and that?
I'm just happy that I have sponsored you since a week after your first episode, and have probably seen more episodes than anybody except the two of you.
You probably have.
Yeah.
I think the only ones I missed was when I was in the hospital
Yeah.
when I had the heart attack. Other than that, I have seen every show you guys have done for 6 years.
Every one that we have done live. Every one that
Yeah,
we've done live. Because we used to do them on Eloy's channel.
right.
And then he would download them. We'd strip the audio and he'd either send it to me or we would get it somehow.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
you've been the man behind the curtain, with helping us get all set up and everything and getting the website going and moderating and just doing all kinds of wild stuff here in the background and keeping us straight, basically.
Yep.
Uh,
And I try not to miss everything. I sleep through some of them when you start talking about
yeah,
music, but
and I'll try to let you know, okay, we're going to talk music. You go to sleep now, Steve.
I always wake up in time to drop the links.
Yes. There's only been like once or twice that I have beat you to that. We got started, and you were like, boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
All right, and any interests that are going on or things of special focus?
This is what I do. I spend all day sitting in front of a computer working on websites and working on moderating YouTube channels. This is what I do every day.
Yeah.
I don't have any outside interests anymore.
Not even the mailbox.
All right.
I went to the mailbox once a couple of weeks ago.
All right. Well,
People ask me what I mean when I say that. Steve is everywhere all at the same time. How many live streams are you watching right now?
Actually, right now I've shut down everything for this one.
Okay, all right. Because usually you're in like 5 or 6 of them all at the
Yeah,
same
I
time.
usually have 5 or 6 going at a time.
Mhm. Wow.
Arju, do you want to say anything in terms of what's of interest as of late, or anything show related, since this is our 300th and whatnot?
Nothing I can think of off the top of my head. Because I don't do this top of brain shit or whatever it is.
All right.
I was,
All right, fair enough. I like the just, I guess it's free flow then, Mark. I just wanted to
Well-
for everyone to have a thing, you know.
Well,
I feel like it should be more than 300.
it just seems like a long time. We have missed a
Right.
couple. We had to postpone a few, and we have, missed a couple. We've kept the number sequence, but we've missed a couple. But it's a little over 6 years.
Harju's doing math, but he doesn't understand that we are involved with new math and you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
6 times 50 is 300.
Yeah.
About right.
Yeah.
It's
But we,
about right.
like I
But
said,
still
we have
feel like
missed a
it's
few,
more.
so they got
Yeah.
bumped back. The number got bumped back.
Take a vacation
But-
and shit.
But well, not so much vacations as one of us or both of us are sick or something's going on, and we've just decided, let's just not do one this week, and we'll pick it up again next week. And that's happened a few times.
When we started
When
this
did you
thing,
drop
we
the-
were
when did you
all of
drop
us
the
here in a
cover
different age bracket.
We do what now, Eli?
When we started this way back 6
Mhm.
years and some change or whatever, we were all of us here in a different age bracket.
Oh yeah,
It was a different universe compared to
Mhm.
to today. Even though you may think 6 years, it's a long time, but it's like
Yeah.
a lot has changed in that time, and yet a lot has
Well,
remained the same. But
we started in 2018, and I was in my 50s. You were in your early 40s
not my early 40s. Was I in my early 40s?
or late 30s.
No, you got to come this way, dude.
44.
I was in my 40s.
Well, either way, you're a kid, so whatever.
You were, I was saying, you would have been about 43.
No.
Well,
Look,
I'm 63.
Let's
There's 14 years difference, so you'd have been 39.
4.
let's leave it like that,
Yeah.
because Harju, we don't want to stir that thing, because the dates that you guys are flying by
Mhm.
are giving us more credit than we deserve in terms of age.
Okay, we got to go back to Schoolhouse Rock here. The number is 6. Subtract it from your age, and it's not that hard, guys.
No, I know the answer.
And
That's what I mean. I
And-
was in my 50s.
subtract some white out too, by the way. I believe.
No, add hair.
Okay, both. Okay.
Harju,
Mark,
are
I'm
you
sorry, I
following me?
can't. You were like that 6 years ago. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I've gained weight.
No.
No,
I've-
he was not like that. Aviator glasses.
Yes,
Oh,
you're right.
that's
I have
right.
different, and in
Yes.
fact, they're right here.
Jamie.
Yes,
Spares.
that's right.
Just for the record, Harju,
You,
you understand what I was saying, right?
yeah.
As far as the
I
timeline.
like Jamie. Eloy was a woodworker back when you started this.
Yeah,
That's
really.
funny shit.
We all
Oh,
were.
so you missed it too? No, because here's the thing: you guys are attributing to me, and by default, Harju, since we're the same age by minus 1 year, you're attributing to me, and therefore, as a consequence, Harju, of being younger than we are.
Well,
That's
You know,
all right.
I mean, it
That's
could go the other
44.
way around.
Yeah, it does go the other way around, actually.
So, but I remember now, Dan, you asked when did we stop doing the cover art?
Yeah, was that like 150 or something somewhere around
That was
there?
180. 180
180.
was the last one we did with just straight audio, and Eloy was making the cover art.
Okay.
That used to be that was a fun weekly discussion right there. Was what's
I
going to
bet.
go in the cover art?
But I
Yeah.
can see where it was a lot of work every week to make a new cover art.
I remember just out of randomness, back when I didn't know Al very well. I knew Odessa, but I knew that he would promote. We have a new member joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome.
Craig.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Greg.
Greg the
Excellent.
Snow Crusher in Canada.
Um, just to say the bit. Back then, at some point, Al would have this. It wasn't Streamyard. It was a something to do with a
Google
gaming
accounts,
a gaming
What was
thing.
it? Twitch?
Twitch.
Twitch.
Yeah.
And I used to think when I saw that, and I know other channels, but when I saw you doing that and I went in to see, I was like, wow, this is a whole new universe room experience. It's the same, you have a screen in
is.
your live stream, but I thought it was pretty freaking trippy. This is just a whole different, thing. And you were always working on models and such, and you still are. Um, but I don't quite remember how we all came to connect with you, Al. It had to be through the groups.
I I think it was through Summers Woodworking,
Okay.
and then it was I was
There you
with
go.
Charlie for a while. Yeah, yes, and then it was the Makers Media Network.
Network.
Exactly. In fact, that's right there what solidified it all. Yeah, yeah,
That was fun. And that all blossomed from just our hangouts.
yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. That's it right there.
I remember the
Exactly.
the first person I ever spoke to on this whole thing was Mark. Mark sent a link, and so because I was about to be on Dave Gatton's show to talk about my Cam Master, and Mark was his right hand man, and he sent me a link, and we did a chat, and either because of the show or after, I met Jerry from Jerry's Machines, the third person I spoke to, and then that led me to Eloy because Jerry said, "Hey, I know somebody that's also in Miami. Maybe." And this was 2 or 3 in the morning. 2 or 3 in the morning. I go, "Is he up?" I go, "Oh yeah." And we were talking till like 8 in the morning.
That's right. I couldn't believe there was another person that was interested in, woodworking or such things, and it was cool. Um, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
We
So,
did a few funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say. So, Steve brought up Makers Media Network. Yeah, that kind of coalesced it, but there was like little pockets of things going on just before then.
Yeah. Originally, I got so addicted to having friends that share the same interests in woodworking that I do. That Billy, Mark Saunders and Billy.
Billy Burt.
Billy
What?
Burt.
Billy Burt.
No, Billy McCord. We used to be on. I mean, oh my God, Mark would sleep in his couch all night, and we'd be on for practically 24/7. And then later, shortly after that, like within 2 months of that, Steve and I started hanging out like on a regular basis, and just little by little, the group got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I miss Patrick dearly. I miss Jerry dearly. I mean, we've lost some good people.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have.
Were those Hangouts Makers Media Network?
Not
'Cause I thought
they became Makers Media Network, but
right,
they weren't originally.
right. I
It was
remember
just
right before.
it was
Okay.
like the way I like to think of it. But then again, I'm a little bit what's the word, vain.
I call it Mandela effect.
I would always call Steve up or one of the others and start off a chat and or chat even and it would just grow from there. And then in later years, it was Patrick who was always online. You know, there always has to be one person that's always on the hangout in
Yeah.
order, because if not, if you go to a hangout and you don't see anybody, you leave.
Yeah.
And this was back in the day when Google had the free hangouts,
Yeah.
and you could just leave the same exact uh, link
Link up.
open
Yeah.
for months at a time.
And
Yeah.
there was no moderator. Nobody had to let you in.
It
You
was a
just
virtual
joined when you
coffee shop.
wanted to, and that was it. Yeah.
It was a virtual coffee shop where we just show up whenever we wanted. And
let,
that's
let me organize the timeline as far as I see it, and you guys correct me. This is how I know it.
Wrong.
And I came and,
Hey,
and by the and by the way, Greg, you were going to be one of the first parts. Now, just because of that, I'm going to alter the history to not include your ass.
Mandela effect.
I'm gonna force the Mandela effect on Greg. The way I see, that's perfect. The way I remember it was actually, see, now I have to throw Greg in. Was originally back in the day, back. I popped up in a hangout that I was sent the link to by Jamie Page, and when I opened that up, lo and behold, was Greg, was Steve, was David or Dave,
Yeah.
Portal Woodworking,
Oh, yeah, that one.
and there were a couple of other guys in there, and Billy McCord would show up as well, and others. And that early thing, I didn't know Javi, I didn't know Mark, I didn't know Harju, I didn't know Al, but in those early ones, what I found just for the guys here is that Steve and David would never chime in a single, maybe a little
oh yeah.
tidbit once in a, and it was so disturbing to me that I started asking Steve questions because I wanted to hear from. So, and Steve probably doesn't remember this, or maybe he does, I don't know, but I engaged trying to, and and Greg would chime in, but occasionally as well he'd sit and just hang and shoot the breeze. After that, just quickly saying, after that, um, I guess it was through Jamie Page meeting um gosh, Jerry, um that then I met Javi, and through Javi I found I had seen Mark out there, his icon, his thing, and through Javi having his sticker or his mug, um
Chad.
through there I started, and so little by little, but now Harju came through early on, but only through conversations and little hellos in the chats in
I
the
think the
groups.
first one I ever joined in on was one of Jerry's. Because Jerry would just drop a fucking link and be like, I don't care who shows up.
For real.
Yeah.
Watch me do crazy. Fine.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
just to wrap it up,
sure.
I met Harju through one of the groups that I was early on asked to join or sent to join, which was the something I forget what the name of the thing is.
I
But
like
I
to
was
make
First,
stuff.
we like to
I
make
like to
stuff.
make
Yeah,
Or
stuff,
I like
yeah.
to make stuff. Yeah, that's
and
right.
Exactly.
I would see Harju's name, and I remember thinking to myself, "What is that name?" I never asked, but I was like, "Where is that from? What is that name?" Like I couldn't figure it out. But he was always, cool and back and forth, and then we started hanging out and stuff on the occasional thing, and I finally met who Harju was. But that's how I kind of, and Al came through all that, I guess, through the Makers Media in conjunction. So it all sort of
Yeah.
congealed into that, and it's a good thing. I'm very happy with it.
It's funny. I got a story about Jerry. I remember that I was watching one of his lives. I was one of the very few people that were there, and I was watching him. This is the day he was working on, well, one of his machines, and I saw him break his wrist. I mean, it was like, and he went up to the camera and he goes, look what I did. I kid you not, his
I
fingers were
remember
down
that
here.
one. Yeah.
And then the funny part is, I spoke to somebody else who says, "Hey, I just watched I just watched the show when he broke his wrist, and this and that." And I goes, "Oh yeah, I've seen that one. How did you see it? It happened yesterday." No, because it's happened numerous times with Jerry. I always, he's had so many accidents in that shop, and he just
I think he might have been working on a lathe at that time or something, a big heavy piece of equipment.
it was
Oh
a
no, he's putting a motor in his skid steer.
that's it. He was
Oh,
putting a
yeah,
motor in
the
a skid steer. Yep, yep. And he just
That
and
was
he
right
just
about the time
he
was
and he
shooting
was
that fucking
turning
mouse.
and he
Like,
was
no,
he
don't
just
shoot that
snapped.
mouse.
It's incredible. So
As
he
I
continues to
remember,
work.
these groups or group whatever, Izzy Swan
Yep.
You're
would
right.
have you would have hangouts, and it would be like you say 2 3 in the morning, and he'd make a pot of coffee, and he'd pour in whatever embellishment into it sometimes, and he would go on and on and on, and there was different ones, and I'm going to forget a bunch of them, but I think the hangouts only held 10 people,
Something like that.
and they
Yes.
had like all across the top or wherever it was,
Yeah.
and Jerry was on there. There was also, oh goodness, the other regulars that are here, but they're also,
Sterling sometimes.
Right.
yeah.
Chad definitely was on a lot of Izzy's.
And then there was Charles
Yeah,
Deering.
Charles.
Yeah, you're
Deering
right. You're
Yeah.
right.
and a bunch, and then I
And
lost my
Doc, that's
Facebook
right.
account.
Doc was there also.
Yeah, right. No, I lost my Facebook account, and I couldn't. I'd lost all the connections to everybody, and then eventually the Patricks and Eloy looked me up,
Yeah.
sleuthed me out, and got me
I tried to
back
send
in.
you a link, Greg, the other day when almost a month ago when I set up a little hangout for everybody, and I didn't have your Facebook. So
I told
send
I
me that
told
when you get a chance.
I told Patrick's one evening, whenever that happened, that we finally, before we got you back, hooked you back into the thing. I told Patrick, do you remember we used to hang out and stuff? And there was this guy. What was his name? What was his name? Was it? Oh yeah, it was Greg. Yeah, Greg, dude. Where the heck is he, dude? And Patrick said, I don't know. And he's doing whatever he's doing. I don't know. And no, but dude, where did he go? And then he said, well, we gotta find him. His name was Snow Crusher. Okay, and so we started doing the search, and we found your ass, dude. You were hiding. I don't know how, but you were, and we finally found, and that's how we
I feel like I was on that
fished you.
chat that night. As you're telling it, I'm like picturing it happening. So either
Yeah, same
it
here.
could be the memory, or I was there. I don't remember.
Well,
Well,
they were hunting him in the hangouts when we were setting up MMN. By the way, MMN 7 years this month.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This whole thing came about because in those hangouts, uh, Doc Hildebrandt, and I sent
Yep.
him a link to this. So here's hoping
Yep.
that he at least sees it and comes in.
I hope he brings the Legion of Brooms.
The Legion of Broom. Yeah.
The Legion of Broom and Lenny.
And it was him because Eloy and I would get into all these discussions about music and start talking about guitars and guitarists and everything. It drove everybody up a tree. Steve would fall asleep in his chair. He would wake himself up snoring. He'd snort real loud and sit up like, I wasn't asleep, you're asleep, And Doc talked to Cinda, you guys should do a podcast. So we're his fault, folks.
But let me inject this bit here because there's so our six degrees.
Yeah, there
of
was more to it. There was more to it than that. Yes, but
there's more to it. Our 6 degrees of connection or whatever you call it to Kevin Bacon. Here's the thing: we have to involve a set of other people in this whole situation, which is, if you guys recall, and I know you're friends with him online at some point somewhere. Matt Haas
Oh yeah,
was
Matt.
was a catalyst.
Yeah, Matt Hawk.
And the thing about Matt Haas is that Matt Haas somebody, I think it was Jamie Page or some other person, said, "Dude, have you seen this guy Matt Haas?" And I forget if it's Jamie Page or not. I don't want to speak out of turn, but whoever that other maker was sent me to a video where Matt Haas, in full Prince the musician regalia,
Awesome wood things.
was doing
Yes.
a
Awesome,
music
awesome
video,
fun things. Sorry.
and 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 I just sat there with my jaw dropped, saying,
Yeah.
"This guy is nuts," and that's just
Yep.
perfect. And it
Yep.
just so turns out, oh, it was with through Waylight Creations. That's the person.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Matt Haas contacted Waylight to do a show on his channel, and Waylight said, "Let's also bring in Eloy." So it's three guys talking about woodworking, and we did that for a while. That tanked, and then um, in between that, Makers Media Network was being developed, and then Jamie Page was tapped to do a possible show called Mad Maker Show, and that is how the show thing started with the this and that, and then somebody directed me to. I already had met Lindsay, but I guess we were talking in the background, and I
Yeah.
think Doc through with Waylight said, "Dude, why don't you do a show on your own?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to do one on my own. Maybe I'll ask Mark Lindsay."
Mhm.
And I went to you and said, "Dude, would you like to do?" And so we started doing the Trampled Underfoot podcast.
Mhm.
That's kind of how it, if I
Well,
recall.
the first I heard about it, you and I did talk, but it was just kind of mentioned in passing. And then we were in a hangout, and Doc got real heavy involved, really got convincing on it. No, no, serious. We've got a spot for you. We've got room on the server. It's free. You know, we have time. Just give us a day that you want to do this. Because we originally started on Wednesday. But then I don't remember their names. I'm sorry. Waylight Creations.
Yeah, Ryan Bitters.
Ryan.
Yeah.
That's right. Ryan.
Yeah.
They wanted Wednesday, so we moved to Tuesday.
Funny stuff, guys. Funny stuff. That's all I got to say. That's what attracted me so much. The humor involved in the creativity, of that era
Mhm.
of makers. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you guys were doing a show called Makers Wanted.
Yeah.
And Eloy had a little segment called You Suck at Woodworking.
Yeah.
It was freaking hilarious. I mean,
That was the best.
because you played that character off so well.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd get right in there on the camera. I try to explain these things to you, but do you listen to me? No.
Yeah.
Try to pay attention for 2 seconds. And then you would do something.
Yep.
You can't do this. I'm wasting my time here. And he'd go away, and then it would quick cut to something else.
It's still to this day. It's still on my little 1 minute intro for my then show. There's a little snippet from Eloy and myself when I'm cutting a piece of wood, and he's behind me in the miter station getting a plume of sawdust in his face. And
Yeah.
shortly, what's cut out is because there's no audio in the intro, but what's cut out is for Makers Wanted. He actually said, "You suck at woodworking."
Now that you're mentioning that, and and by the way, two things. One, we did some skits when I would go over to your house, and those
Yeah.
skits, I have them saved. I published one in my Facebook,
I
which
think I
was
still
funny
have
as
some.
hell.
Mhm.
It's just little skits of us running around, and I find it
Yeah.
very classic stuff. But I wanted to ask you guys, just freeball, whoever, do you guys remember any of the collaborations and such, and this and that? Because I'll just throw one out there. There was one about hammers that's more recent, but there's older ones. There's one about hammers or some sort of woodworking thing where Harju did this mammoth freaking um, Goliath of a freaking warhammer, and I went and did one too, and people were involved in all that. Do you guys recall any other or that one collab type things?
It looks like Harju doesn't remember this.
I got a picture of the hammer somewhere.
I was
Are
gonna
you
say,
crapping me?
It's the
remember
Mandela effect.
I remember Harju's. I remember Eloy's. Eloy's had the purple handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Yes,
very Black Sabbath.
yes, the
It was
purple
all
handle.
bloody.
Yeah,
It was.
yeah, and Patrick had the. And he sent me the files, and I converted them to CNC. He had the hammer made out of a bunch of pieces of plywood that you would just screw
That's
together.
true.
I
You
still
could.
have that hammer.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
great
You're
hammer.
right. You could hammer with it, or you could something else. It was great. It was so
Yeah.
good.
You could use it like a compass. You could.
It's true. He put things together that shouldn't go together. It was great.
Yeah.
Jamie did the British word of the week.
Yes.
true.
I still say that some of those could be standalone. I don't know how many of those You Suck at Woodworking you did, Eloy, but you could release those on your channel one a week or one a month. And that they would get views because I would
Yeah.
share the hell out of them.
Yeah,
Those were
yeah.
funny.
I would say, and most of them you would fit into the new shorts.
Yeah.
Were they less than a minute long?
Oh, yeah. Reels and
Yeah,
shit
because
like
it was
that.
part of a bigger context video, if you recall, where
Yeah,
everybody had their little segments.
if you could crop it vertical, yeah, that would be perfect for shorts. You get some revenue off of that. That would be hilarious. Some of the folks in the audience have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. This show called Makers Wanted was like it was about a 20-minute
It's
thing,
still out there.
maybe. Just look for Makers Wanted, and it
Yeah,
was
Makers Wanted
short
season 1 and season
skits
2.
and short little comedic bursts, real quick, cut together real quick.
It was
good.
basically sketch comedy.
It was sketch comedy with a woodworking bent, and man,
Yeah.
it was good. It was hilarious.
Just to drop this for Harju to see if he can recollect, I took one of your photos with that hammer.
Yeah, that was my cover for
What?
the Mad Maker show.
Your maker what?
The Mad Maker show. That was you took that one for the.
Yes, I
Black art.
took that, and
I'm
then
gonna find it
I
out on YouTube
I
and
turned
have
it
to
into a
find out.
purple.
It was on Scratched.
Just so that you know, in case you I can't believe you lost all that history in just a matter of like one moment to the next, Harju.
Well, you know,
There's
in 10
there's
years,
another one
10 years
that would
that'll
have been
come to the
interesting.
foreground. It's my head works weird. I remember today, and like the last 2 weeks to 2 years, probably not so much. But once you get out about 3 years, I'll remember it all again.
Okay, let's start. I'm looking for it.
Okay, that link you posted, Hobby, didn't go through.
Which
Sorry.
one else, Steve?
What was that?
Which one, Steve? You said that what?
The Mad Maker is one that deserves to come. Always
Yes.
deserved to come back.
Yes,
Uh,
it does.
I think I would have done.
If I hadn't broken YouTube, then it would have probably kept going.
Well, that's true.
that one
That,
don't work.
that evening was the quintessential. The YouTube went down for the first time ever, and it was Steve's actual show, and we had to do a. I don't know if we kept going, it came back, or if we had to do a second one. But
We continued, and it's up on your, or it was up on your channel. I don't know if it still is.
it should still be
Um,
there.
But yeah, we kept going, but very few people could see us because YouTube was down almost worldwide for the first time ever.
I wanted to just for just as a personal note, and so that everybody knows, and it's because of everybody, but it gave me the feeling back then with all these cool people doing so unique, different things, and having all this knowledge that I don't have. Everybody has this unique section of knowledge in their own way. Um, I started getting a vibe. This is going to sound ridiculous, but of kind of like the '60s British invasion type. What?
No, I'm talking about Javi. He's asked me a question.
Oh, it felt like all these creative people, that this was all such a cool thing that I just wanted to interview them to know a little bit about their background, plus whatever the heck they're doing. And in the process, we got Jamie Page to participate as a co-host with me. Mark Lindsay also was a co-host in various episodes. Likewise, Doc Hildebrandt was, and we interviewed a bunch of people, and I liked it. I liked the idea of the stories behind the creative people, and so it was a selfish thing in my sense because I wanted to kind of like books, kind of like histories of people that do cool things, and but unfortunately we didn't have the support from the public at large for it to continue, so that closed down.
Hobby, check the private chat.
Yeah, I did the same thing too, and I did put season one, episode one of
Yes.
of the show that he's talking about there.
Yeah,
I mean
they,
that
the,
is the first one.
You
I'll
see,
put it.
Steve, everybody
I'll
just
put it in the
crap.
description. No, 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 no. I didn't
What
mean
were
to
you
do that.
saying, Eloy? What were you saying?
Exactly. See, Steve, that's the point. So my vision, it's cool in retrospect when one thinks of it, but in action,
This is your.
everybody's brain is involved in whatever the heck, and so in that process, and how perfectly it just goes to heck. So
When reflecting, you always wear rose-colored glasses, right?
yeah,
That's true, but I
Indeed.
but I think that Steve is right in this regard because there's a whole new crowd out there now. There's a whole bunch of people who have never met Matt Haas, don't know who he is. Whole bunch
Right.
of people that have never met any of us, have never met any of the makers that we know. Um, I know the maker thing kind of went way up. It skyrocketed for a while and then kind of peaked and then started falling off. But when we talk about guys like Jamie Page who are still active, these people who have just gotten in the last 4 or 5 years, they don't know who Jamie Page is if they haven't seen his content. So what the Mad Maker Show did was it introduced people to makers that they never would have found otherwise. And the way you handled that show, Eloy, was anybody can ask what's the favorite project your favorite project you've ever done. Oh, if you had unlimited budget, what would you make? If you did this, if you did that, if you did the other. Anybody can ask those questions, and you didn't do that. You got into what's behind the creative process in the mind. Where did you get these ideas? What are your inspirations from? And kind of getting people to think outside the box and look at things from a little bit different angle. And that's what I appreciated about that show
Hmm.
because
What I
it
like
was
to call the Eloy effect.
there you go.
You basically
Eloy
use
Mandela?
makers.
Call it the Escobedo effect. It sounds better.
yeah, I just wanted that history because I
Mhm.
did see value in the people outside of the woodworking. I saw
Mhm.
like some cool narrative stories, histories that could possibly be cracked open, and so that was my intention. But
Mhm.
again, people were not interested enough that they would even, let's say, promote their own freaking episodes.
Dude, that is an uphill battle, and you're going to find that everywhere because
Hmm.
I still, it still mystifies me. You're going to be a guest on somebody's show. You think maybe your friends and family might want to know that? Why aren't you putting it out on social media? Why are you just going silent? You know, and then wondering, well, we didn't have a very big crowd. Well, yeah, you and I are the only ones that know we're here.
The reason I started the
True.
woodworking for fun on
Mhm.
videos
Mhm.
wasn't the I started doing repairs and stuff because my old man passed away, and during that time I needed to fix up the place to rent it out next door and do all the
Mhm.
stuff, and out of necessity I started doing such things, and then there were certain little issues that I needed to find out, and lo and behold, you have Google, so I would Google, and in that process of like, what do I do for this situation or that one, I found or ran across what's this guy's name? Jimmy
Jimmy DeResta.
Fallon?
Jimmy DeResta.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And when I saw his video, I was taken aback because he created things without saying one single word, and
Right.
I saw that, wow, this is, so I started doing little videos And then
Mhm.
somebody caught their attention of what I was doing and said, "Hey, man, why don't you come to Facebook and join a group?" And that's how I entered
Yeah,
the
that
little
first I Like to Make
world.
Stuff group was basically a Jimmy DeResta fan club in the beginning. That's pretty much what was up there, you know. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jimmy
and then you got
DeResta was
Jimmy.
an important. Yes,
And is.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. He was the first quote unquote maker I ever subscribed to as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it has to be accepted as such, or at least from me, that was the case where he took something that other people, in my opinion, back then, there was really not much like that I had ever seen. Simple. I'm gonna repair some sort of wood deck, and I'm not gonna say a thing, and I'm just gonna make it and shoot it with my little camera,
Mhm.
and that's it. That had its awesomeness to it, you know.
Hmm.
So, but lo and behold, there's countless other people across the country and the world doing badass things,
Mhm.
and I found it freaking
Oh yeah,
awesome.
it's incredible. The whole community. I mean, the first time I ran across one of Matt Cremona's videos, I was just like in awe of
Yeah. There's
like,
another one
oh
right
God,
there. Yeah.
if I had all the money in the world, that's what I would do. Is just
Yeah.
retire and just slice slabs.
Yeah. But he
Yep.
worked his butt off. I'm
Oh
here to
yeah,
tell you. He
and he's got the
worked.
video to prove it.
Oh my God, that man.
Yeah,
It got to such a point that I don't know if it was the second annual or first annual, but during 2017, a lot of you guys here, and I'm talking about Javi and Mark in particular, although some of the other gentlemen here might have. There was a show in Atlanta, a
Yeah.
convention. It
Yeah.
got to the point where it
The
became
woodworking
so
show.
economically viable, um, that a convention popped
Well,
up out of it.
it was the woodworking show.
yeah,
It was vendors, Peachtree Woodworking. I think Veritas was there. Laney Shaughnessy was there with Digital Woodcarver,
yeah.
and that was the last time I flew. By the way,
I met
I
I've gone 2 or 3 times since, and I met Izzy there. His
yeah.
first person I met was Izzy and Chad.
Mhm.
Met me at the lobby and stuff, and it was they
Well,
brought me into their hotel room. It was, I mean, it was a wonderful experience, and
I flew there,
I got
and
together with Stumpy Nubs
Oh yeah.
Hamilton,
Yeah.
James
Yeah.
Hamilton. Yeah.
and we just hit it off right away. I mean, we were
Mhm.
Another one that still is
enjoyed the conversation.
prime video, prime
And
work.
Jamie was there. That's right.
Yep.
Jamie was there because that was the year Jamie came to the States.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I flew there to go with Dave Gatton, and he was going to introduce me to some of the friends there. And it just
Yep.
happened to be that just about the entire maker community showed up. And that's where you and I met in person, Hobby.
Yep.
I met
Yep.
Jamie Page. I didn't know who he was, but I met him, and he gave me a sticker. Says, I met Jamie Page in Atlanta, and all I got was a sticker. I've got that, in fact, I've got two of them. One of them's on my paint locker, and the other one is in a drawer I keep all my
Yeah.
cool stickers in.
Yeah, Jamie
That I
came
have
down
more
to
than one.
Miami, and Eloy and I had a blast
Mhm.
with him at
And
La
that's where I
Carreta.
met. That's where I met Jerry Blakesley. I had never seen him or heard of him before,
That's right, Jerry as well.
but I met him there. I met Michael Mertzke. We met a whole bunch of people,
That's
and
the
it
one
just so happened that was when all the YouTubers showed up. Izzy was there, and Jimmy DeResta was there, and I mean, you
Yep.
name them, they were there.
And that's the one thing that's very, very surprising because it was as if since we've spoken to each other so many times
Mhm.
in private and on
Mhm.
shows, we really got to know each other. It's not like a phone call. We can communicate, we could see each other's expressions. The only thing that was brand new was everybody's height.
Yeah.
To me,
Right?
that was the only thing that was surprising to me. Oh my God, I thought this guy would be taller. I thought this guy would be shorter. It said,
Mhm.
Mark's my height. What the hell? I thought
Yeah.
he was like 2 heads taller. Mike
Mhm.
Murphy is and
I-
Mike Fulton.
Michael Fulton. I've got a picture. I've got
They're
a
enormous.
picture. I've got a picture of me, Mike Mertzke, and Mike Fulton standing, and I'm in the middle, and I come up to their shoulders.
Yep, I've got one of Mike Mertzky and Drew,
Mhm.
and good old Drew, man, Drew Oxford. Those guys are
Um,
huge.
one thing to interject or drop into that you guys are saying that's related, although I don't know that you guys visited. It's more of a West Coast thing. Do you remember the year that maybe followed that one that you guys are talking about, or maybe a year after, where in San Francisco or somewhere thereabouts, they had a huge outdoor fair of makers?
Maker Fair.
Yep.
The Maker Fair.
How bad to the bone was that? Even online, you could go and
Mhm.
experience it from different channels.
And I didn't get to go. Yep.
I,
I
went
wanted
the
to
New
go to
York
that
one
so bad.
year.
Yeah, so did I.
That looked great, dude.
And it's about 7, maybe 8 hour drive to the south of me. And I didn't get to go.
Yeah.
Oh, I was mad.
We
I did get to go to a couple of Gatton meetups up in Georgia,
Mhm.
which was nice. It's nice when everybody gets together in person and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
but it is a heck of a trek.
Well, I'm the furthest west out of all you guys. I
Yeah.
think I think it was. I think I'm the furthest west, and then Greg. It's a tie between Greg and Al, but
I
all
think
y'all are
JP's
back
got you
east
both
somewhere.
beat.
Nah, he's furthest east.
That's true.
Do you guys remember? Anybody here remember? Probably not. This is way back when. I'm kidding. A lot of you guys were doing this before me. But do you guys remember um, Sterling's wood pallet challenge?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
oh
Vaguely.
yeah. The
There was
pallet
quite a
wood
few of
challenge
them though, like pallet wood challenges.
and 2x4 challenge.
Yeah.
And there. I gotta tell you this one. I gotta tell you this one. I don't care. I'm sorry, Steve. Forgive me in advance, Steve. Forgive me in advance, Steve. Steve, can you say I forgive you in advance? I remember because you don't know what the hell I'm gonna say. I remember for the first time ever, because now you guys are talking about meeting people and whatnot and this and that. Steve was reluctant during some sort of challenge to do the video part. He was okay with doing the woodworking part,
Oh yeah.
but he was totally like, I don't want to do the video. I'll set the camera up if you'll edit it, Eloy. And I said, okay, dude, of course, I'll edit it. And so Steve set up, and I don't know, he did a table or something or other.
Yeah,
That
On the
the
was
driveway.
dancing.
that was the plywood challenge from Polar Woodworks.
Yeah,
Okay, the plywood. Okay, but in it, Steve, for the first time in my life, I'd seen him standing up erect with his legs, which were two white poles. I think you were wearing shorts, but you had like
Yeah.
these two
That was good.
incandescent sticks coming
Glowing.
out of
Yeah.
your.
You didn't need light. His legs would shine the whole room up.
And no, but there was no pageantry involved. Steve was purely, I'm gonna get this project done. So the dressing, there's no dressing, not even any sort of like, I don't know, jeans. He was all about just getting it done.
he was a man on a mission, and that was focus.
Yep.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yep. I've
Is that
done.
your
I think I've done 3 challenges, and you edited 2 of them for me.
Mhm.
Uh, one was the Madhouse's
Maker's Rock.
the Maker's Rock, which
You
Yeah.
I
did
still
great.
have. By the way, I gotta send that to you one of these days.
You want me to be? Let me be forward with this situation. I want to tell you, one evening, and by the way, it's all in good fun. But and you tell me if I'm wrong or not. One evening, you and I were talking about our respective albums. And I said, dude, that's awesome, and this and that. Or tell me if I'm right or wrong. It was Patrick's that said, well, dude, you should send yours to um to
It
Steve.
probably was.
And Steve, you should send yours to Eloy. I mean, that's the right thing. It was Patrick's. And here's the thing. Um, although we mutually have that desire to do that, we're kind of lazy in that respect, and we're still holding on to it. And it's fine because that's how we are. But it was Patrick that initiated that concept. That
I'm looking at it right now. The
My
album
God.
art is still sitting right there. Been sitting there for 5 years now, waiting for me to send it to you.
I put this in the category of hashtag unfinished projects hashtag, okay? Because it's the shipping part of it.
Yeah.
I was
Well-
watching Patrick's I went and watched a bunch of Patrick's videos the other day. He made good videos, that fucking guy.
Okay, who
He
was it? Who was it that I think it was it Sterling? No, it was one of you guys. It might have been one of you guys that Patrick made something for. No, I think it was Sterling. Patrick made something for you, and he said, "Send me the money for shipping." And he sent them the money for shipping, and then he asked them for the money 3 times for shipping.
That was Sterling.
That was
Sterling
Sterling.
Sterling never remembered that he sent
Never
the money.
remembered because he was always Patrick always asked him when he was on the moonshine. So
When are you going to send
Which
me the
was-
money for shipping?
Always.
Well, we
I'll send it to you right now.
we messed with Patrick a little bit too. I mean, he made the mistake one. He used to wear headphones,
yeah.
but he made the mistake one time of being on speakers with a microphone. And you guys mainly did it. You set you Alexa, set an alarm for
That
3
was
o'clock
funny.
in the morning on
I
February
have it
6th.
play like gay songs and shit like that.
Oh man, there are probably
national
still
anthem.
alarms going off on his Alexa account.
Well,
I
for the
remember-
longest time, you only saw him from like here up.
Yeah.
For the longest time, and then one time I caught him full face,
Mhm.
and I snapped a picture of it, and that's when I always kept on, and he hated it. I showed the picture of the guy from Lord of the Rings, Mordor, or whatever, is the king of the troll of the
The
of
orcs.
the mountain trolls, I think it is, whatever.
Mhm.
Dwarfs, that's it.
Dwarf.
And him side by side, and he hated it. It looked exactly the same.
I
Oh my
grew
God.
up here in Sweetwater with friends that looked just like with the red hair, chubby. Let's just say, I grew up with it, so I always felt this instant, and plus his way of being, even though he was what's the word like a
Noxious.
Abrasive.
abrasive. Even though he could be abrasive,
Asshole.
I saw past that. For
Mhm.
some reason, with him, I skipped over that. But I would give him crap back. And I remember one
Yeah.
time that Harju was hearing me giving him crap. Harju's not going to remember this one either because he doesn't remember any of it. But Harju took note of that in one hangout,
You know the effect.
and Harju decided to defend Patrick's, and he started giving me some crap. Harju did, not in a mean way, but little enough to say, "Hey, man, you're crossing the line," kind of, sort of here.
Uh-huh.
And I remember that. So what I'm getting at is that Patrick's was loved,
Uh-huh.
even though he had this tough persona. That doesn't mean anything either way, you know.
I used to call him the little brother and puppy I never had.
It's
Greg,
funny. There's a guy that my kids watch him from time to time, and he's pretty popular on YouTube nowadays. He's a gamer. I don't know if any of you are familiar with him, called Queso, and he's just he's something you have to experience. But anyway, he always wears a hood, and he reminds me so much of Patrick because he does have the red hair, and he's got similar features, and just
Is
the
he
way
an asshole?
Oh my God.
in a good way, but yeah.
I
Well,
think,
like
Well, Patrick's loved to be the asshole.
Mhm.
and Greg, you understood him very very well, like in a very relaxed. I could tell that you totally got his ways, and you throw back as well when we
Oh,
used to
yeah.
hang out late at night. It was understood, but
That was the sport.
but for
It
some people,
was.
he
Sure,
was
in real life.
it was difficult.
Mhm.
In the beginning, I always used to call him out on his language. I go, "Hey, language, Patrick," and for a while, he would say, "Drop the F-bomb," and I go, "Oh, sorry, Javi," not meaning it at all.
You know what?
Sorry.
One other thing about Patrick's. And by the way, I never publicly posted anything when he passed because it really was hurtful to me, and I know that that's no excuse, but I really felt this thing that you feel with friends, you know, in a certain real deep way.
Yeah.
So it was kind of hurtful, so I avoided it, to be honest with you. And just to mention one thing about Patrick's, regardless of his exterior, which is obviously he was abrasive, like you said.
Yeah.
He did something he knowingly that things were happening, if you get my drift, he sent various friends remembrance gifts just so that you guys know. And he sent me one. He sent me a few, and very tough.
Yeah.
So, so I do have a special place, and he knows that for him, and
He
it's
he
tough. Yeah.
he put up a tough persona and he put up an abrasive persona, but he was a marshmallow inside.
Absolutely,
He
absolutely.
was an absolute cream puff and had a heart of gold.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
he really did have a heart of gold.
He was
Yeah.
only
So,
abrasive to me once.
pardon?
He was only abrasive to me once.
Yeah, but but when this is, should I tell that story? I'll
Go
just.
ahead.
Um, I don't even remember what it was about, but you gave him fair warning. He was like, Patrick, remember, I have your website. I can forward it to all kinds of places. And he didn't believe you. And for about, it was about 24 hours.
That was funny.
If you tried to go to Patrick's website, you went to one part of the internet that you really didn't want to be. I'm not going to
A
name the website.
something.com.
I'm not going to name the porn site, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about somebody pulling in their horns immediately. I mean, you could have had that guy taking out your trash and raking the leaves in your yard and the whole thing to get his website back. That was hilarious.
At
And the
one
thing
point,
was, I only changed it. It was changed in the system for less than an hour, but it took 24 hours for Google to recatch it.
Oh, geez, that's funny.
at one point, he went about the business of once he got his what was it, printer? What Javi? What are they?
3D
The
printer.
3D printer.
Yeah, when he got
Yeah.
his
Oh yeah.
3D printer, he went about the business of reproducing en masse um, small penises that that
Bag of
Yeah.
dicks.
And sent them everywhere.
Yes. And Tyrannosaurus with they were
Dino
with
dicks.
legs
Yeah.
like a Tyrannosaurus, whatever.
And little arms.
It was hilarious.
it was
Let me tell
disturbing.
you. Let me tell you. All joking aside, that man learned a Fusion 360 in no time flat, and he got expert level at it real quick. I mean, he was pulling out some stuff there. It
Yeah,
wasn't just basic copy paste kind of stuff. It
Scale
was
banana.
it
yeah.
was some heavy duty
I
I
still
banana.
have mine, Mark.
I still have the banana for scale he sent me.
That's
Yep.
funny.
Yeah, bugger wouldn't ship outside the continental U.S.
Yeah,
though.
I ain't shipping to you. You're in Canada.
Yeah.
And he never did.
Nope.
It's like an extra
Yeah.
form you get to fill.
Another person we
Oh,
friend
wow.
that we lost was Jerry.
Jerry
Yeah.
Blakesley.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Jerry's Machines.
Jerry's Machines, and he was one of the earliest ones that I came in conversation contact with
Mhm.
from back in the day, and we used to spend a long time just sitting here talking at night, just him and I shooting the breeze. But Jerry was also a man's man kind of guy, and he would buck up and this and that. And in the last years, he was being a little bit snippy, and I wasn't having it for whatever reason, and so I wouldn't talk to him much in the final. And it's unfortunate, but um, regardless of that, he was a very talented person, very intelligent, very skilled, um, and it's a loss. Just like recently, Gagne has passed away. A brilliant person. He sent me a shovel um, out of a skull that he turned into a skull, and his creation's amazing. So it's just a lot of great talents, that have gone.
Yeah. Jamie said that I'm getting tired of losing all my old maker friends. It needs to stop. Well, you're absolutely right. I'll agree with you. But there's just some things that we can't control. And I mean, I don't want to bring this down, but fact, I'm going to try to bring it up. We need to do this a heck of a lot more often.
Yep, I agree.
Just get folks back together. And I mean, it doesn't have to be live. It can be live, but
Yeah, that's what I'm endeavoring to do as I go along. I got together with my classmates recently, and I'm already hosting a once a month thing for the classmates, and I want to do the same thing here for us, because like I said, somebody's got to man the empty room, or nobody
yeah,
will join.
exactly.
But
I
it'll happen.
mean,
Javi,
Yeah, I don't have to buy lunch much anymore. I just go to funerals for all my old friends. I get free lunch.
Yeah,
Javi, has it been 4 years
yeah.
that you built that house?
2018, I bought the property.
Yeah,
2021, I
yeah.
started the build, but there was an 11-month gap that I was waiting for the trusses.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I did it in a year and 9 months,
Okay. Because I was going to
and,
say
but over the span of 2.5 years.
when we were on the show, and then you left like the next January, right afterwards. I can't remember exactly, but and
We
then
had I got them somewhere on my, I got them on my channel still.
for some
I
reason I heard 4 years, and I'm like, man, was it that long?
it's been 4 years.
I just remember watching those videos of you fucking mowing down the bamboo with that fucking mower.
That was fun. That
Beat
was
the flag
fun.
out of
Let
it.
me tell you. Did a number
There's a pond back there.
I
Check it out.
did a
Did
number
you
on the
ever get
blade,
your
but
Did you ever get your pipe wrench back out of your well?
no, no, never did. So
My God.
but
Greg knows this because I was asking. He used to be a well driller, and I used to ask him so much advice. And you guys were probably in those chats. I dug a well. It got to about 25 feet before the sand just kept on caving in. I finally had to pay somebody to dig a real well, 85 feet deep. But it was pure sand that was pouring in. And one time, I'm here trying to twist the pipe, and I had two monkey wrenches. I mean, big ones. One of them whoosh, right down the well. There's no way
Oh,
I can get that out. And then the other one shortly thereafter also popped, dropped in. I I I, I pulled the pipe out. I said, "That's it." Just filled it.
um, something that needs to be said to the folks in the chat in the audience here who don't know, you built that thing by yourself.
Yes, with the exception of pouring the concrete, which
yeah.
you could say I could have done it, but it would have to be in 10 foot by 10 foot sections
Yeah,
because there's no
and
way you pour
But
65 yards, let alone 85 for the
yeah,
garage.
but
It's
you. So other than that, and digging the
ev-
well,
you
and
put
digging the well,
every single brick down, though,
every
right?
every
block,
block,
E-
every
Every block,
piece of
yeah.
tile,
Right.
every
it's a
stud.
3,500 square foot
Hmm.
house. It's
Hmm.
a 3,200 square foot garage. The garage was a blast. Imagine a giant erector set. Come on, guys. Who of us doesn't want to build that? So that
Me.
was fun. Well, come on, that was fun. And then I would say the hardest things would be the roof and not the plywood decking was fairly okay, and so was the underlayment. The shingles themselves, just kneeling, and
Yeah.
the amount of
Well,
times I had to get up and get. I hate bending down,
no, Javi,
and
to be honest with you, it is an astounding feat.
Yeah.
Like
Accomplishment, yeah.
I know that people built the pyramids back in the day. I know this is not a pyramid; it's a house. But or Stonehenge, erected Stonehenge. But frankly, one human being,
One
and I
person.
know one stone at a
Yeah,
time. But my
yeah,
goodness,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's just
Well,
motivation. Let me tell you what motivated me. Well,
Trying to get your butt out of that damn trailer.
oh, that was a big one part of it. But it was a
you put
combination of things. It was a combination of things. Wanting to do something for your family, a bucket list that you have in your head that, oh, I want to build my own house from soup to nuts, from beginning to end, that kind of it. But here's the thing. I didn't plan to do the whole thing by myself.
Yeah, I know you didn't.
I did not plan to. When the blocks came around, it just coincided with the trusses being 11 months delayed. So I had 11 months to do nothing. So, and I still would have hired block layers, but because of the boom, they were charging $8 a block, labor alone. It would have cost me $20,000 more just to have somebody else do the block. So
Well, you probably
I know how to
saved
put,
over a hundred
I've
thousand
done it before.
dollars.
I'll do it again. And the same, and what?
All the labor you
Yeah, my
didn't
back.
pay, you probably
My
saved
back.
$100,000.
Ugh.
I've saved close to 500 grand. The entire house, $142,000 is what it cost me.
Javi, I don't.
I got
You,
three different quotes from contractors. The cheapest one was 675,000.
I was gonna say the
What
house
other?
is probably worth $600,000 all
Right,
day long. So
right.
But
It was
but
that's
just a
to what
price for
sweat equity for a year.
1.1.
but to what
That's
Al
sweat equity for a year and a half. That's damn good money.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree. I agree. I'll never do it again,
So-
but I agree.
No,
but
but you've
Javi,
just built all that value to leave for your family someday.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
it's a great thing.
It's
But
a
what
huge
Al said,
legacy. That's amazing. It's
what Al
amazing.
said about your back, and he went ow and this and that. I don't personally. If I pull the bags out of the car wrong from Walmart, I'm already hurting. So I don't know.
Egoy, there are days where I'm 58. There are days I sleep wrong on the bed and I wake up with a backache. No, the thing is, one thing that I realized after the fact, and this I realized early on, when I was the first 2 years, I was out here 10 days a month clearing the land, 5 acres filled with trees and muscadine grapevines where you couldn't walk without tripping. And I, you hack at it little by little, and that was actually fun because you see the progress. But
It was fun to hack.
yeah,
Yeah.
But-
Some days if I wipe wrong, I'm in trouble.
but here's the thing. I was picking up logs, and I was picking up pretty heavy logs. Lucky I didn't give myself a hernia or fall off the roof during this whole time. But I was picking up logs, and in the beginning, I started at 250 pounds, and I was hauling logs and hauling logs. I was exhausted those first 2 weeks. But the funny part is, forcing myself to continually do it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the dexterity just went up. All of a
No,
sudden,
yes.
I could do anything, and it was
Yeah.
a constant. And I got down to 220. Then I started eating more, and I got up to 280. And then I got back down to 250 again.
No, but Greg's thing, it's true. If you
You won't let it go, will you, Eli?
no, because it was perfect. It was perfect. If you twist your arm in the wrong
yeah.
wrong way, even that can cause a terrible.
Trying
So I don't see it, but okay, you did it. You know.
I have to Javi's point, say that I've noticed that as I've gotten older and I go down, to pick something up, I come back up, I start getting a head rush. In the younger days, in the younger days, okay, it was self-inflicted maybe, but anyway, anyway, I'm going off. But anyway, the repetition of doing it.
Yes.
And getting down on the ground, and I'm explaining working on my Mustang. Actually, I was sick, but in the winter time, I guess it was January, December. But anyway, point being is, I thought I couldn't do it at first, but I kept moving, and the more I moved,
with the consistency, you
Yeah.
limber up. But
Yeah, the more-
even so, I couldn't do this again now. Well, I probably could, but it would take me 10 years, and by that time, maybe I couldn't do it. The thing is, I started at 50. I'm 58 now. I started at 54 with the landscaping, and at 54, I could do a lot more than I can now. Now it's gotten to the point where I'm doing one small section of insulation now, and now I'm working on the shop. 4 years ago, I would have been able to do a whole quarter of the shop in one day like this.
Yeah, but dude, you're talking about freaking 4 years of back to back doing stuff. I mean, the other month, I freaking changed a car tire, and
Mhm.
when I went to tighten the lug, my whole side of my neck froze up,
Oh,
and I
those are
spent
the
like,
worst.
dude, I spent like months with my neck all screwed up. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm saying like balancing what you did
When
is crazy stuff, man.
I told you I had 11 months to do the block, I calculated that it would take me 3.5 at at 30 to 60 blocks a day. That's one to two bags a day. That's it, you know. And I was doing that. Some days I managed to do four, but I was doing that. About 2 months into it, I got like major tennis elbow. I was out for a month and a half. I could not lift. I mean, because
Yeah.
when you do block,
Yeah.
you're holding
Yeah.
it like this, and that's 35 pounds that right over and over and over and over. I was at the point where I was going to invent another contraption to lift it up, and it would take even longer. But thank God,
Well, my
You could have made
question
a
for you,
video.
Howie,
yeah. What's
you,
that,
you
Steve?
said you said you were lucky that you didn't give yourself a hernia or fall off a roof when you were moving the logs. Why
Yeah.
did you have the logs on the roof?
Sorry. Two
Yeah,
separate statements. Fall
just me
off the roof
talking.
during the roofing, or give
Yeah, just
myself a hernia
just me
lifting the
talking here,
logs.
but they don't belong up there. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
your insurance agent,
with
but
that
mine would
storm
have a
that came
problem
by,
with
I'm
that.
lucky I didn't have to leave. That the trees didn't leave one or two up there.
You had
Oh,
trees that you dug up, right? And I
Yeah.
remember kind of like
28.
to my point. Then uh, you ended up burning the stumps out.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And again,
Yeah.
I'm putting them all on my YouTube channel from beginning to end, edited, because there reached the point where I was so busy with the house that it got
Right.
to the point that I just recorded raw footage.
Right.
It's
Hmm.
either time lapse
Right.
or a snippet, or a long, boring raw footage. That's all I got on my channel now. But I have 20 terabytes of raw footage that I have
I
to edit.
bet.
Working
I
on it.
bet you do.
Those trees, those trees, I with that little backhoe. Oh man, that was, and it's not that little, but with that little backhoe, I dug up all those trees, and with the truck, I would pull them out, and the biggest one was 40 inches in
Wow.
diameter,
yeah.
the stump, and that was the only one I couldn't pull out. There's no way, so I dug all around it.
Yeah,
It
that's the one
was
I
a
remember.
35-foot in diameter hole, 35, 40 foot in some places. I mean, there's a video of me walking in it, and it's still towers over me 4 or 5 feet. And then I threw 30-foot long logs of the other trees that I'd been cutting in there to use as fuel. That thing burned for 2 weeks. It was fantastic. The heat, you couldn't get within 30 feet of it, of the edge. You know,
you,
my tractor almost overheated. It started giving an alarm because I just get just near enough to drop it with the claw, and I'd have to back up real fast.
you
Wow.
didn't sell any of those logs to a mill?
No, no, these are laurel oaks. These are water oaks. They suck.
Okay.
They I have 393 trees on my property. The 99% of them are laurel oaks. I've got 3 or 4 live oaks,
They're
a
not
couple
even good
birches,
for
a cherry, and two
they're,
palm trees.
they're not even good for firewood, huh?
Not even. I mean, no.
Of course, nobody around your neighborhood wants
You got
firewood
any
anyhow.
African
So
firewood
Yeah,
land
yeah.
Hey, just
down in Florida.
a side thing that might be real, but just to um because it's what's happening now. The hurricane that went through Florida and up into the East Coast, or I'm sorry, into through the
The
South,
states. Yeah.
um, is unlike
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
especially in the areas that it occurred. It is unthinkable the imagery that
Mhm.
has and the situations that have appeared
It's
or that have.
devastating.
Yes, it's to the level where it's inconceivable to even like get it through
Yeah.
one's mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And then mostly again, it's the floodwaters more than anything
yeah,
else that's
yeah.
damaging to all these. I thank God I'm 100 feet up from the lake.
I don't know those. I've been to those areas in the past on vacation, Tennessee and such, Georgia, um, and the Carolinas, all the way up to New York. I've been through the air, but it's not like enough there to know the lay of the land so perfectly, other than it's mountainous hills and whatnot in
That's the
certain.
problem for a lot of those parts is that
But
the water basically rushing down the mountain.
but let me explain why I'm directing this situation. And this is not. It may sound weird, but I'll just throw this out there, and you correct me if need be. When they have certain dams, okay, when a storm approaches, and I'm not a expert. I'm not a dam expert. When a storm approaches,
Damn expert.
um, it could be that the idea is to open the gates enough
Mhm. They do.
so that it would lower it so that it would compensate for
Yeah,
the over. Well, okay. So in Sweetwater in the year 2000, we had a
I remember
flood.
it well.
Well, because they didn't open up the. One of the
And
explanations was, go ahead.
I remember it well because I had in one of the lowest parts of Sweetwater. That was where my property was, and it got 4 feet of water inundated. Thank God it was all made out of stucco and concrete. We just let the water dry and put the renters back in. It was they. What happened was they didn't release the water early enough because they didn't have enough information as to where the storm was going. So they didn't realize it would be such a heavy rain producing storm. If not, they would have. Because what happens if you those canal systems and water management of South Florida is fantastic. They could drain those canals out to the lake, but they need 3 or 4 days to do it, and to the point that it's so low. But then what happens if it doesn't rain? Then all of a sudden you've got low water tables everywhere, and
And
then
that's a problem too.
that's a
Okay,
problem as well.
okay. So all that's reasonable to me. Um, and granted that these people up north, I don't know that they've ever experienced something like this crazy. That doesn't just
They
Well,
what that they
they
haven't.
get a lot of storms, but there's also a different scenario with them. It's not like us down there where it's all flat lands and you have to control the water levels. You've got mountains, and basically, if you've got a flood at the top of a mountain, it's all going to coalesce and run down. It
Right.
doesn't go up. So basically, if it runs
right.
down just the right way, you get mudslides. California, oh my God, you don't get me started on California. They never have rain, so one little
Well,
drop of rain
that's what
creates.
puts out the fires is the mudslides.
Yeah, yeah, and
But I don't remember which dam it was, but I was one of the news reports said that one of the dams was releasing 500 million gallons of water per hour. That's how fast they were trying to. They just opened it up to try to get rid of as much water as they could when they saw what was coming. But they never had that widespread
yeah.
because that storm covered a huge diameter
Mhm.
and
Think
it
about
just hit everybody all at once.
and think
They'd
about
never
this, Eloy.
had that
Remember
big of a hit.
all the heat, all throw in a category 4 level. All the heat, the size of that thing, all those winds and all that water is sucking up water, seawater, and water from the atmosphere, and it's all being pushed towards the center more than anything else.
I
So
have
you're
a
just basically taking. It's like a bunch of guys taking a bunch of buckets and dropping it in one place,
I
but
my I have
multiply
a
to make it
cousin
more.
that lives in western North Carolina. They're up in the hills, so they didn't get affected by any of the floods. But there at their house, they got 14 inches of rain that day.
Right.
And they were on the
Wow.
outer bands. They weren't in the middle of it. So, you know,
Yeah,
and
my,
all
I
that
was
water's got to go somewhere and it's going to go downhill.
And add
biggest.
to
Yeah.
that, and add to that. I mean, Florida. I mean, we're talking just in at the coast there. Well, I don't have to say Mississippi and Louisiana on prior storms, the storm surge of 10 to 15 feet. Do you imagine what would happen to your house if you had 10 foot of water
Yeah.
change all of a sudden?
Well, It was still Category 4 when it hit my sister in Valdosta, right on the
Wow.
Valdosta.
border.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, it was right there.
Yeah,
How is she doing?
they're everybody's okay. They had two big trees go down, or one of them landed on their motorhome, not
Mhm.
mobile home, motorhome,
Mhm.
and the
Right.
other, and it also took took the roof and half the barn and flipped it. So it
Jeez.
ripped the top half of the barn off.
Wow.
Yeah, it's brutal.
The hurricane was so savage in width, I guess, or in size, that the winds that we experienced here in Miami were so savage. Now you may think that 30, 40, 50, 60 miles per hour on its own for Miami, it's not a big deal, but it was so constant that my power got reduced to a brownout event, um, going to Greg's injuries. Um, and basically, see, I thought I could get. I can't see if you're at least if smiling on that one, but it got to the point where I couldn't.
Is he asleep?
No,
Nope.
he, he's quite awake. He's got a, but it got to the point where I could only use basic power and not the high powered things. So it was a that's how huge it was that
Yeah.
me hundreds of miles away was still getting crap.
Hmm.
I
Well,
got brushed by
even
it. That's it. I lucked out. I got brushed by it, but the only problem, man, I that's the one thing and the only thing I miss about the old house and the old place, because I certainly never want to go back to Miami. But the one thing I miss is we had underground lines, and in 22 years of living there, I had power go out during Irene for 3 hours, and that's it. Never had power go out since, because we were right next to the substation with all underground lines. Here, this year, I've had power go out 5 times, and as soon as the storm came by, the storm wasn't even to our latitude, and we were out of power at 7:30 p.m. and didn't get it back for 24 hours. I mean, they're good about getting it back. It's
Uh-huh.
always a tree limb that knocks it down because they're all
Yep.
overhead lines and stuff. But
Right. Right.
it's frustrating.
well, you
Thank
figure
God my whole
Katrina
house.
with all the damage, Katrina with all the damage it did down here, came ashore as a 3.
Mhm.
This new one came ashore as a 4.
Yep.
Yep.
So uh, we're
This was
talking.
savage.
Oh yeah, right.
It was still a
Last
three into the Carolinas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It
yeah,
went down.
it slowly went down, but it was still a 3 when it hit South Carolina.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, last estimate I saw, and I haven't looked at the news lately, was like $30 billion in damage.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. There were towns wiped off the
Oh
map.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
historic towns.
Hmm.
Yeah,
They're
there's
all down
historic
along the
towns that are
rivers and the
gone.
valleys, and that's where
Yeah,
all
we
the
get
water
hit
ended up.
all the time in Florida, South Florida in particular, and we get lucky breaks in between years. Sometimes it goes for quite a while, but when big ones hit, boy, do they hit. Um,
And they're
it's
scary.
just it's the nature of where
Yeah.
we're at.
But we've talked about this before. You can run, but you can't hide because if you're not dodging hurricanes, you're dodging tornadoes, or you're dodging fires, or you're dodging earthquakes. So,
Exactly. My
Yep.
mom always says the same thing. Why do you want to move out west to California? There's earthquakes. Completely forgetting the fact that we get God knows how many hurricanes a day. I've been
Hurricanes.
through
Yeah.
17 eyes in my lifetime. 17 eyes. You know, and for us, I know for Eloy and me, it's just some bad rain. I mean,
Yeah,
occasionally, like there's an Andrew or something like that really hits us hard, but for the most part, it's a bad rain. You know, and we're used to it. I come up here, my cousins who live up in Central Florida, every other rainstorm, they're calling me up. Hey, there's going to be a big storm coming. It's not even a tropical storm. It's not even any wind. What are,
mhm.
um,
you know,
um, but but
they fall apart at the slightest little breeze, and I'm 60 miles inland. I was
but wait a second. Wait, let me just to get this straight. I know it was Mark that said you can run, or was it you that you can't run, but you can?
You can run, but you can't hide. That was me.
yeah.
So my question is to in my mind because I know that where Greg is, there's blizzards, and I know that where Ju's at, there's blizzards and such and this and that. But where Odessa is at, to me, if I had to pick and Steve, forget about it because he's in Mississippi and he still gets the stuff. But where Odessa is, where Al's at, what natural phenomenon do you have?
He's got hurricanes too.
Tornadoes.
and
Tornadoes.
and he's got tornadoes, tornado alley,
Yeah.
and here's one for you. Although it might not have hit Al personally, my daughter's looking for a place to. She's shopping around for a place to move, buy an apartment, and she ruled out Texas completely just because of that the cold snap that happened.
yeah.
And everybody had power, 'cause they're not
Texas
on our grid.
is its own power source. They don't cooperate with any of the other states. It's all internal. It was a big to do a couple of
big
years
issue.
ago. Yes.
I
And
don't
it
know if
wasn't
they
even
fixed it,
cold.
but
Well, Texans ain't built for that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's
can't
the thing.
secede
They didn't prepare
if
enough for
you're
the
energy
cold.
dependent. You can't secede if you're energy dependent. So they got to
You know,
stay.
yeah.
right.
Believe me, I don't. Anyway.
Yeah, people talk all the time about
Well,
being survivalists and having your own power and your own generator and your own. Okay, where are you going to get the fuel for all of this? Okay, solar and all this. First of all, I hope you're rich but ultimately, give it a week,
yeah.
and if you don't have the rest of society, backing you up and the infrastructure,
Right.
Well, that's
Oh.
absolutely
Everybody's
true.
gone.
That's absolutely true if you want the majority of people to survive. Because if you don't, then you can go. But here's the thing that about that power thing. There's a guy that I heard. This is obviously an anecdotal thing that he suggested the concept of having some mobile building that's operated on solar and everything revolves on solar so that you're sort of um, disconnected from
The
situations
grid.
like this.
From the grid. Yeah,
Is that viable?
yeah, it is.
Sure.
And it can be small
I
scale.
was gonna say, small
It is.
scale cruisers do it all the time. All the big boat cruisers that cruise full time.
Yeah, the
They-
technology, the way it is now, is I could have I've got a 200 amp service, but honestly, I mean, I know my power consumption. Everything's and with LEDs and all this stuff, my power consumption is with the full blown AC going. Hey, David, with the
Hey.
full blown AC
Hey,
going,
David.
I'm looking at 3,500 watts. Now, when the hot water heaters kick in and everything go up to 12 kilowatt, if I have a 12 kilowatt system, I'd have to have enough batteries to basically cover me
To stockpile the energy. Yeah.
to stockpile the energy. Because
Yeah.
you can't just have, it's 12 kilowatts. It's 12 kilowatts during the day, but then all of a sudden, at nighttime, you're using up all the battery power. You got to have 12 kilowatts times 8 hours at night or
Just
however.
plug in your Tesla hobby.
You
Yeah.
see, you
I
see
don't
this.
have to.
You see this dude here.
Yes.
I don't know if you're all seeing the same thing. Look, David.
Yeah.
I'm gonna scratch your head.
David Jones.
Look, David. I'm scratching your head.
Oh,
Um,
I
David.
can't reach over there. Wait. I can get this one.
Wait. Now I'm gonna put my finger
Scratch your
in
head.
Mark's ear. David was mentioning in the background before he got on that he just. I don't mean to throw this out there, but he's on here, so he just got power back.
Looks like he has no power right there. There's no. Oh, okay. I've been disproven.
Does the word conservation mean anything to you, Al?
Um,
He's trying
No,
to get
no.
his power bill down to 25.
You're both wrong.
Ah,
That that
That's it.
is actually standard lighting for David.
He's trying to get his power bill down to $25.
Well, no, actually, this is the only place I can get internet service out here in the middle of the road in front of my shop.
and it looks
And I'm
pretty good
sitting-
too.
I'm sitting on top of my Harley.
But might as well be comfortable.
That's right.
David, what are your thoughts on all the stuff
Get it back.
that's been going on with the aftermath of said hurricane and such?
Well, I'll put it to you this way: Helene was not nice to us. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My place in North Carolina is under about 20 foot of water.
Yeah. Ouch, man.
So one place is all right on dry ground. Well, ain't none of it dry ground, but the other one's right beside the French Broad River. I don't even know if the house is still there.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
And you got no way to go up there to check on it either.
I was up there last weekend.
Yeah, last weekend.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it's basically blackout as far as what you can't even, you don't have no idea.
Well, I
Basically.
mean, I've got family all up there and hadn't been able to get a hold of any of them.
None of them.
None of them.
That's messed up.
Well, I mean, their world just got really rocked. I mean,
Yeah.
all of Western North Carolina devastated.
Yeah.
I would say there's areas up there where people you can't get in and out. People are trapped. They're flying prescriptions in on drones to drop for people to make sure that they have the insulin and the stuff they need
running all sorts
just
of
to even
helicopters.
live.
Which is thank God for
I-40
drones. It's
parts
funny you
of
say
I-40
that.
under about 4 foot of mud.
I was thinking about that. Yeah. Maybe technology is the way to counter
At least
the
temporarily.
environment. Well, yeah, but at least it's better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
The standards of construction. Look, I know that this is different than being flooded over 20 feet or then some in mud and muck, and that's messed up. But like after Andrew, over here, they really revamped what the
Yeah.
standards could actually be to build a home. I'm
In
sure that
2001 and then again in 2009.
I'm sure that this is going to happen up there as well, to some degree.
Well, to some degree, but the problem is you've got all these hillbillies in these mountains. Some of them, I got family that have never been out of those mountains,
Yeah.
and you're not going to come up there and tell them how to build their shack.
Exactly. Eloy, I could have gotten. I built mine. I built my house to Miami-Dade standards, and to withstand it. My shop and my house can withstand 180-mile-an-hour winds plus. In fact, more than Miami standards. Here, they only require 135, and I'll tell you what. Right now, nothing against the inspectors because they're phenomenal, but once you get to know them and once they trust you, they'll if you side skirt half the things, if you're an owner builder, hey, it's on you. So there's a lot of rural mentality around here where, hey, it's your house. I'll pass it because it's your house. You're the only one that's going to suffer for it. And so you don't even need to build it to 135-mile-an-hour standards. I mean, there's code and then there's,
Yeah. Well, um, I mean, it's life altering what happens.
Yeah.
Life altering.
I mean, because I've got a couple of friends who built some rental property that they have, and then I wouldn't live in it. I wouldn't live in it in the safest of weather locations, let alone Florida.
What's the local and federal government? Are they? I mean, I haven't, so I don't know. But are they actively on it?
There, let's put it this way: in
I'm talking
Miami,
about North Carolina.
oh, up there,
Well, I mean, they're trying what they can, but I mean, you're talking about mountains.
yeah.
I mean, there's not a road up there that doesn't have a tree within 5 foot of the damn road.
Eloy,
So-
to give you an example, Miami-Dade is probably a third of the area of Lake County where I'm living, and in Miami, you've got, well, because of the population and everything, Miami, you've got an electrical inspector, you've got a roofing inspector, you've got, in fact, you've got multiple electrical inspectors, multiple roofing, multiple structural, multiple plumbing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the disciplines. Here, we got one inspector that inspects everything in a general area. There's maybe 4 or 5 inspectors for the whole entire county.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
And it's similar here as well. You see the same 4 or 5
that's the way it
guys.
is. Up there, probably one. And there's some counties up in northern Florida where there's one inspector for the whole entire county.
We only
Well,
have
And,
now
one
up in
inspector
and
Asheville,
he's also
Asheville,
administration in the. You know.
yeah, up in Asheville, Buncombe County. Oh, that place, that's where everybody's moving to.
I've seen pictures of that place. That place was destroyed. Parts of it.
Yeah, but I mean,
Asheville.
they've got extensive building inspectors there
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything. They're really far
Well,
ahead of the code.
the larger cities do that. The larger cities do that. It's in the
Well, they
smaller,
have
it's in
to
the more
just to
rural
keep up.
areas where frankly,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you get over where my house is, the one that flooded in Transylvania County. It's like you're talking about. I think there's one inspector for the whole county.
mhm.
What
Yeah,
what
but I
town
think
is your
the
property
event,
close
the
to?
scale of this event
It's
gives us
right on the other
with
side of
COVID,
Etowah, Transylvania County.
everything's gone.
Okay.
Even if you built to code
And
for this event, those houses are gone anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Nothing's left standing.
Yeah, I was reading an
Take away that
article
light.
and they were talking about, hurricane level 1, 2, 3, and this thing was a 4, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So how could they anticipate that?
It depends. It depends on the. I mean, look, I've been through hurricane force winds for a 4 and for a 5 with my old house, and because of the density, because of the trees, because all the trees were gone, but on the higher storms, but it's the tornadoes that spawn off the hurricane with the 300-mile-an-hour winds that do devastating damage. It's the
Yeah.
floods that
Yeah.
that
Yep.
cause the water to wash away the houses.
Yep. Yep.
It's
Yep.
not wind damage. I mean, wind damage, yeah. If you don't have your shutters and it breaks open a window, then basically your roof becomes a parachute if you don't have it strapped down properly, et cetera, et cetera. But but the biggest problem with these hurricanes, more than anything else, is the flooding, is the rushing water. All those areas that are most impacted, whether it's Louisiana from Katrina, or whether it's this one, it's the rising waters near the shore,
Right.
the
Right.
Storm
The
surge.
swells. Yeah.
the storm
It's
surge.
the volume
Yeah, the
of
surges,
inland
yeah.
water
counties,
dumped at one time.
you'll have the occasional tornado that'll spawn, but for all intents and purposes, back to you, Mark, everything's fine in the middle. I mean, they're going to have down trees, maybe a few roof shingles missing if you got an older roof, but yeah.
See, and this gets back into that whole you can run but you can't hide thing, because everything you're describing right now scares the living hell out of me.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you were saying that I believe you said it was your mom that was saying, why you want to go to California? They got earthquakes.
Yeah. And fires for me would be the worst.
I can't tell you the last time I felt an earthquake.
Oh, we've had them. We've
fires,
had them here. Here.
fires is something we do have to pay attention to, but there's things you can do about that. You can kind of defend yourself against that.
I would, and my mom also, when I moved up here, the other thing she said was, why are you moving up to Central Florida? There's so many sinkholes. Okay, it's a valid point. It happens.
Mhm.
But I mean,
All things
It
considered,
was a place where there
probably
was nothing
the
to complain
safest
about, or everyone would be there.
yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But there was there ain't no such place.
well, probably the safest place out of everybody here would probably be, now rethinking about it, because a blizzard or that kind of weather in Harju's case, maybe it's not as extreme. I don't know.
Nah, we've had one where we've lost power over a week, but that's rare. Once in my lifetime. Usually it's a day or two. if he gets power knocked out, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So no,
But there's
yeah,
no
so seasonal inconvenience is all we have
Yeah.
up here. There's no
Yeah, the
fucking
safest
other
place according to
cataclysm.
AI, the safest place is Anchorage, Alaska. That for weather conditions. But then
Oh
you're
yeah,
talking about
sure.
it's really cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cold though.
They don't
Winter.
count polar bears with weather.
Don't they have
Spokane
It
can.
gets
balloons?
winter.
Don't they have balloons
Greg
going
probably
up
doesn't get
up
much else
above there
except
too?
winter.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, Ocala, Florida, which is 20 minutes north of me, is considered to have low risk of hurricanes and flooding. It's one of the top 10 safest places to live. Who knew?
and they have
blizzards are manageable if you keep your power, for sure. They're really manageable.
Yeah.
You just can't go anywhere
I was
because
gonna say that's
unless
easy.
you have a snowmobile, and then everybody's out, right?
Right, then you can go anywhere.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
after the blizzard's over, right?
No,
We
No.
got redundant systems at my house. We have electric and stuff, but then I make sure we have a generator and we have a wood
Yeah.
stove and
Yeah.
Harju, can you
power goes
raise
out
your
a couple
volume?
days, I don't care.
Can you raise more your
It's not a
volume?
big life event. Who?
Daniel, your volume's really low.
Yeah, your mic volume is really down,
Mic
but
volume.
that's okay.
Stupid Mike. Going back.
You
to
just
the
got to
settings.
take one step closer to it.
Or
Give us
raise
a
it.
sound check. Check, check, check.
Check.
You're fine.
Check.
Okay, that's
check,
good,
check,
but you're right on top of it too.
check.
So
Check, check,
we get blizzards.
check, check, check.
Louder.
We get
Check. All right, go ahead.
blizzards. We get tornadoes, and we get floods.
Yeah, we got
And-
floods. too.
You get floods? Oh, and tornadoes? That sucks. We
Yeah.
don't get those.
And like we've had what are they? Category 5, the top one, the biggest
F5s.
Yeah.
F5s. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, they're wicked. The thing is, though, we're so non-densely populated. It's usually out in farmland. So
Yeah.
Right.
now, if it hit one of our big cities, oh my goodness! But I don't know, rolling the dice, you're not going to hit even though it may cover X many 100 square miles, it still isn't, like the possibility of a tornado
Yeah.
hitting a big city. The floods we've had, 97 was the biggest one. They called it the flood of the century. And we had one before in 1950 that was really big. And the river, which is probably the most to be the widest the Red River would have been normally, is maybe a quarter mile wide in some place, but it's usually down to less than that, more like an eighth mile, sixth of a mile. But it went out to, I forget how many miles, something like 40 some miles wide. It spread out, but it's a slow
And that's
flood.
going to happen in the spring when there's
Yep.
a melt off and you get rain.
Yep.
Because we get that here. If we have a lot of snow on the ground in the spring still, and we get a
97.
rain and it's melting off, all the rivers fill up. So
97 was a bad year for that because there were floods all over the West Coast.
Mhm.
I mean, from border to border. There, and I'm sure up in Canada as well. There were floods all over the place. And that was just a bad year. It was a lot of snow, and then they got an early rain, and everything just kind of melted off. They had a flood here. They had floods in Reno, Nevada. There were floods all up and down the West Coast. We got rain in Hawaii. It started raining one day, one afternoon, and it rained constantly without stop for 16 days.
Wow.
We got 25 inches of rain during that, and that was in 1997, November of 97.
But how
got-
how much did it flood though, or did it drain off instantly?
It kept raining. It did. I mean, we had waterfalls. The road in front of our house, there was a sidewalk across the road from us, and the next row of houses was built up about 4 feet, and there were stairs that led down onto that sidewalk so people could get down on the sidewalk. It was a waterfall coming down those stairs.
Wow.
And it drained off into the ocean, of course, but there were mudslides all over that island.
yeah, mudslide.
So 25 inches of rain in 16 straight days of rain. I mean, it was bad. You got clothes out of your drawer. You'd have to put them in the dryer to dry them so you can get them on.
Yeah.
You could just smell paper starting to rot.
Yeah.
You could just smell mildew when you walked into the house. I was like, oh my God, it's got to stop.
Hmm.
And it was nasty. So 97 was a bad year for everybody out west.
This isn't right.
Ours, like I said, our floods are like slow motion. You know,
Mhm.
it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Water's going up, 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 and then there's slow motion retreat too. Like
Yeah.
it well over a month before it was back to what you'd kind of call normal. And
Yeah.
you're looking at rebuilding and fixing and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Uh,
All right, I gotta go, guys. It's been a
All right,
blast.
Dan.
Later, Dan.
Congratulations on your
See you, Dan.
300.
Thanks for coming, Dan.
Have a great one, Dan. Have a good night.
catch you
Take
later.
care.
Later.
All right. Man.
Yeah, I've been looking at those pictures, and it's you think it can't happen to you. I mean, if you're from Miami and you've been through so many storms, you almost become jaded.
Yeah.
I mean, there is the occasional one, but one out in 20 years in fact, it's been one or two in 20 years that have reached a level where my street in front of my old house was flooded, never reached the porch,
Yeah.
and that's as bad as it got. But you think it could never happen to you. Like I
Right.
said, you become jaded, and all of a sudden something like this happens, or you
If
can't.
Well,
that would have, let's put it this way. Let me just say this one thing because I live here in Miami.
Yep.
If that hurricane would have hit us,
Oh, devastation! Devastation!
if that hurricane would have hit us, Miami, this would be a nightmare, just like what we're seeing up
Very
there
much so. Yeah.
in a different way. But this would be
Yeah.
a total screwed up.
The building standards are more, but all the all the coast is
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
the
just
storm
saying.
surge.
Most of that area is only 6 inches above sea level.
Yeah.
My
Right.
my house was over there was built, and Eloy's is about the same.
Yeah.
4 to 6 feet above sea level. Now here's the
Yeah.
thing: it's so far inland. By the time the storm surge gets up there, I mean it's a good. Well, it's really
No,
not
no.
that far, but
No.
Eloy's place is 13 miles from the coast.
Right. No, as far as getting from the sea, I'm talking about
Rain falling?
stuff falling on top of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about all the stuff that comes with it. I'm talking about stuff collapsing, certain
Oh.
stuff. I know that we were built with cinder block, but I'm saying not everything is up to par necessarily.
It's not just the cinder block. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but I certainly remember. I couldn't drive my car because all the trees were down. But in '93, when
yeah,
I was biking all the way to Homestead and back, and the worst damage was the worst damage was Homestead. They were completely
Yeah.
wiped off. But
Yeah. Homestead
in
was bad.
Miami, everywhere, including our own house and our cars, everything in Miami is barrel tile roofs. Those barrel tile roofs were lifted, and projectile. Now we have technology where it's not just nailed on. Now there's major polymer adhesives that
help. Yeah.
But there's a lot of old houses that still have the old tiles on there. And let me tell you, that wind, they were bullets.
I've often wondered about those.
No windows, 2 cars in the front yard that were close enough to the road where it was just no windows. They were shot out by.
Explain those things. Explain those things because they're like terracotta tiles.
They're clay. They're made out of clay.
Yeah.
And basically, it loops down and up.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they're placed on top of
Spanish.
each other.
They're Spanish tiles.
They're Spanish tiles, and there are a lot of different designs.
They're
It's basically
all
the same
over
as
Europe.
slate, except
Yeah.
they're curved.
They're all over Europe that way, and
And-
have been for centuries.
Everywhere in Miami, everywhere. Because if you don't have enough money, you'll go with the shingles. But if you have the money for the
Yeah, because that's not cheap.
it'll raise the value of your house. But the thing is, oh my God, there's so
They
many.
better stay on the house.
It better stay on the house.
The hurricane that came in 2000, or the storm or whatever, I was in California, and my father later, when I came back, explained in detail, because he explained over the phone after the fact. But basically, this whole area was flooded
Yep.
into the houses, just
Yep.
like what you were explaining. And my dad explained that one of the windows broke in his bedroom,
Mhm.
and he took a plywood and had to hold it against the winds
Yep.
all night long, just holding it, because there was no other choice.
Grab a mattress and block that wind, because if not, your house becomes a parachute,
And
a big balloon.
Well, this is what happened. That half of the stuff here was the water soaked into the cabinetry. It soaked into the
Yeah.
sheetrock. It soaked into every. It just basically the tiles lifted up. Just total mess. And when I came back, one of the first things I asked him was, "How about my comic book collection?" And well, because the reason was, number one, it was a very expensive comic book collection from back in the day, that I had amassed, but we had packaged the comic books in order to make space in my room so that I could do other things, and we put it in the shed wrapped in bags, in double lined, plus the liners. So in my mind, nothing was ever going to touch them, because they're double wrapped, plus they're in their liners. And what ended up happening was that the whole thing got waterlogged, all of it.
Mhm.
It was just it
Yeah.
was it was what it was. But it ruined cabinetry, it ruined sheetrock,
Yeah.
Oh
it
yeah.
ruined freaking tiles.
You get water in a house, and man, it's through.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
through.
Yeah,
Um,
no fun at
But-
all, dude.
Well, we have been on for a little over 2 hours. We should probably land the plane and then carry this on in the background after the show.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, this is I'll just a couple. Do you have any couple of words before we, wrap it up, Mark?
Well, to everybody, thank you for indulging us for 6 years, 1 month, 1 week. Thank you for continuing to come back. Thank you for all the praise, the chiding, the jokes, the inside jokes, all the participation, all the fun. And to you, Steve, thank you for being the man behind the curtain, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, who helps make most of this possible. And thank you to you, Eloy, for always kind of keeping me straight and narrow and keeping me focused and making me want to keep doing this.
Okay, well, I thank you as well, Mark. It's been fun. Um, it's always enjoyable. All the friends and that have gathered here across this time, I appreciate very much. It's very special thing to do, and just broadly within the show and outside of the show, just to mention, I'm very thankful for the people that I've met, and nothing. I wish the best to everyone, to stay safe and do the things that they love, as we mentioned in every episode. And we'll catch you here next time for episode 301. Crazy, but it's true. And any final things from our guests here that we appreciate hanging out with us?
Thank you for 6 years of fun. It's been a blast, and hopefully there's many more years to come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We wouldn't be here if we didn't like it.
I concur.
All right,
Don't mess with super glue, Al.
Steve.
That's what that means.
That's a good one.
Thank you very much, and for all of you guys, we'll catch you next week. Peace.
See ya.